What is up, YouTube? It's Jeff Perry with Must Be Nice Investments. It's New Year's Eve 2020 and we are ready to usher in the new year, and I want you to be thinking about whether or not you should refinance your house in the new year. Is it the best time? Will it work for you? We're going to cover all that today. Before we get started, make sure you hit a like on this video at the end and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you truly love our content, guys. We're working really hard to bring you the best that we can. Okay guys, so when we're talking about whether or not you should refinance, obviously this is a personal decision, and I'm going to challenge you to do a couple things and ask yourself a couple questions. Number one, you should ask yourself, what am I trying to accomplish by a refinance on my current property? So if you don't know, a refinance replaces your current mortgage with a new loan that has a new term, a new rate, and a new monthly payment. And by refinancing, you can lower your monthly payments, or maybe get a shorter loan term, or maybe even take out cash, but generally you're not going to be able to do all three. You need to figure out what your goals are and what your trade-offs are, what you're willing and what trades you're willing to make. So one goal is you might be looking for a little more room in your monthly budget. In that case, you're going to want the longest loan term possible, which is typically 30 years. Or maybe you're wanting to look at a lower possible interest rate, which typically those get lower the shorter the loan term. Adjustable rate mortgage gives you the lowest interest rate, but again, there's some problems there. Today we're talking just about fixed rate interest mortgages, because you don't want to see a big jump at the initial fixed period. An ARM really only makes sense if you will move in the next couple of years, right? So another question you may ask yourself is getting out of debt as soon as possible a priority for you? If so, you should be looking for a loan with a shorter term that is left on your current mortgage. Most people offer a 15-year loan. Some people 10-year loans, some people 8-year loans. Just shop around to see if that's something you're interested in. Monthly payments are on a shorter loan or higher, okay, obviously, because it's less total payments. But since you're dividing the balance over a shorter period of time, you'll own the home outright sooner. Your mortgage rate will be lower and you'll pay less total interest over time. A third question you might want to ask yourself, hey, do I need cash right now? Has 2020 really kicked my ass? Am I in a bind? Do I have places that I can tap money? If you need cash right now with a cash out refinance, you can pull out equity you built in your home. You end up with a larger loan balance, but can put that money towards paying off higher interest debt or making renovations, or in some cases go buy yourself a second property as a rental property if it makes sense for you guys. Lenders generally require a borrower to maintain at least 20% equity in the home when you go refinance. So if you don't have anywhere close to that, or anywhere way more than that, definitely a cash out is not going to work for you. The majority of you guys that tuned in this video are probably thinking about, how much can I lower my interest rate? Average rates on a 30-year fixed mortgage have been below 4% since about June 2019, and they finally crossed below the 3% threshold for the first time this summer. And currently, I just got a mortgage for 2.5%, 30 years. I think the regular rate is around 2.66, but that means that millions of you guys can save a ton of money. So we're going to go over that real quick. First, let's take a look at the historical interest rates and how they have been for the last 30 or so years. Okay guys, let's take a look at the chart real quick. This chart goes back all the way to May 1971, where interest rates were just below 8%. Obviously way better today. But you can see the run up, what happened in like the 80s, 1981, about the time I was born. I remember my parents telling me about a house they bought in 1981 and they were ecstatic to get like 20% interest rate. I was like, wow, man, that's crazy. Can you even imagine? Go run the math on that and see what it would cost you in the current house you live in today and see what you could actually afford. It would be probably pretty depressing. But as you can see, interest rates have continued to drop over the last 30 years. And at some point when they cross this 8 or 7 range, I guarantee people were like, hey, now is the best time to refinance, historical low interest rates. But as we know, past 2001, things have continued to drop and people have continued to say, now is the best time to refi. Now is the best time to refi. I'm not going to tell you now is the best time to refi because, again, I don't have a crystal ball. Things could absolutely change. But I would say as we move down in here into 2020, December 2020, we're at 2.66. I got a loan for 2.5 just 3 days ago, 2 weeks ago. 2.66, man, that's close to the Fed rate being almost zero. So again, unless Fed rates drop below zero, This is pretty close to as good as it's going to get, but I'm not going to tell you it's the best ever, but I would say it's definitely still a good time to refinance, guys. So that's great numbers there. So if you're trying to figure out if a lower interest rate is worth it for you in the long run, I'd say a general rule of thumb says if you can reduce your interest rate by 1 full percentage point or more, you should refinance your house. For a 30-year loan with a $400,000 balance, lowering from 4 to 3 would reduce your monthly payments by about $220 per month. Though it can make sense to refi for less depending on your needs. So let's take a look real quick. Just in a year's time, when mortgage rates were around 3.9, almost 4%, now they're currently sitting at 2.5 to 2.67. Let's take a look at how much money that would save you based on how much you have left in your mortgage. Let's take a look at another chart I have here, guys, and this is just looking at what mortgage rates were 1 year ago, December 2019. We were around 4%, 3.97 versus the 2.67 I just showed you guys. Here's how much you can save on a monthly basis on your mortgage. Let's say you owed $200,000 on a house here. 1 year ago, that would have cost you, your principal and interest would have been $947. Today, and again, that's if you're around 3.9%. Today at 2.67%, $808 a month for a savings of $139. If you're more in the median range of 400, you're looking at a $278 a month savings, guys. And if you're up here, this may be a little bit different because you're probably at this point getting into a jumbo mortgage, which is going to be a little bit higher than prime. But again, those jumbo mortgages where they were a year ago versus today, the same kind of step change. So these savings should be pretty close, saving almost $500 a month. Okay, so the last thing you should ask yourself is how much does it cost to refinance a mortgage? Of course, this is not something that happens for free. So what you really need to do is find out what that cost is going to be. I would say on average, nationwide, it's about $5,000, but there's things like a loan origination fee, which is typically about 1% of the total loan. You got to pay an appraisal, you got to pay title to do their work, you got to pay credit report fees, among others. So one of the things you got to do is take that number we just looked at. If you're saving $300 a month and you know you're going to be in the property 5 years, so that's 3 times 12, that's $3,600 a month, or $3,600 a year savings. 5 years, so let's call it about 18 grand over the course of 5 years you're going to save. If it costs you less than 18 grand to refinance the mortgage, it's probably a good deal for you. And it's not going to cost you anywhere near that, guys. So do the math and understand how long you're going to be in your property, or kind of estimate how long you're going to be in your property. And at some point, the refinance is going to break even, so to speak, for you as far as cash out of pocket. And then after that, you're going to be having that monthly savings. But you got to do the math and figure out, hey, do I feel like I'm going to stay in this house a certain amount of time? Am I going to leave earlier than that? And kind of figure out if it's worth it. So finally, what I would wrap up is saying, do not ask yourself, will mortgage rates keep dropping? You don't have a crystal ball. I don't have a crystal ball. And at the timing of a mortgage rate at the absolute lowest is very difficult to do. Just like buying stocks, the odds are that you will never buy a stock at the absolute low or sell it at the absolute high. And that's a quote from Patrick Boyagi, the chief executive of digital mortgage broker Own Up. In the same way, the odds you will get the lowest interest rate ever for your particular situation is also low. But know this, unless mortgage rates go negative, we're very, very close to the lowest mortgage rate you're going to find. And anything between now and the Fed going to an absolute zero or negative, I would say the chances are very low. So right now, in my opinion, the rates are as good as they're going to get. You've seen the historical trends. Yes, it's been trending down for 30 years. At some point, it's got to come back up because we are close to zero, guys. So hopefully that helps you make a decision today on whether or not you should refinance your loan, guys. I would say my wife works in escrow at a title company, and they are getting hounded with refinances, guys. They are getting tons. They had all of them over the summer. Rates are continuing to drop into the fall, and we are kind of in the sweet spot right now, guys. So think about it. It probably makes a good deal for you. If you know you're going to stay in your house for a while, consider it. And then also you should consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel for more great content. We'll see you at the next one, guys.